Greetings and welcome to Lez Talk About Books, baby, where we talk with your favorite LGBTQ plus authors. I'm Anita Kelly, and today my guest is the queen of romance herself, Aurora Rey. Hi, Aurora.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. This is our Valentine's Day special with Aurora because she is the queen of romance, and we're all about romance on Valentine's Day. So Aurora, let's first talk about your last published work, which was called "Frosted by the Girl Next Door."
Yes, it was a fun book to write. It was a collaboration with Jaime Clevenger, one of two that were kind of share world. Parallel timeline. That's kind of the format that we've done with both our collaborations now. Frosted by the Girl Next Door features a kind of an uptight cupcake baker and the woman who opens a sex shop next door. And the baker is none too pleased at first. And then obviously friendship and sexy times ensue. That's not a spoiler. That's just.
Mm-hmm. Since you said that, I read that. I liked it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a really fun premise. Jaime brought me the premise, and I was like, yes, please. I would like to write that with you, because who doesn't love a sex shop and cupcakes?
Yeah, heck yeah. And so Jaime came up with this premise, like that's really I don't know, that's unusual, right? To have a sex shop next to a cupcake shop.
Yes. We had to sort of like be a little bit generous in sort of how we played it out as a sex shop because there's zoning and there's all that stuff. But I think it reads pretty plausible and obviously a lot of fun because how could you not have fun with it?
Yeah, it was a great book. I really liked it. I totally when I didn't remember the title because I am not good with names, but I remember the storyline. So yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
Thanks.
And was it that you said that was your second collaboration with Jaime?
Yeah, we did one a couple of years ago, set in Colorado, a convenient arrangement and Love Accidentally. See, I can't even, they're my own books and I can't even remember the titles.
Oh, thanks. I don't feel so badly then. And I do believe you have a guest speaker with you.
I do. I shoved all the dogs out of the room, but the cat has decided to join, but now he regrets his choices. So I'm going to oust him so that he's not actively participating the whole time.
Well, he's a welcome addition. If he has something to say, we're always, willing to listen.
Right? The audience loves that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when your pets enter your Zoom conversations.
Absolutely. Yep.
Comic relief.
Yep, definitely. So do you and Jaime have any plans for any other works together?
Not right now. It is definitely an undertaking to do them because we publish with different publishers. Sort of the arrangement that our publishers have agreed to, which is very generous on their parts, is that we release a book with each publisher. Oh. And so even though we each only write half the book, we have to write two books, which means editing two books and brainstorming two books. We have this wild and wacky idea to set them in the same world. And the stories actually happen in parallel. They're not sequential. And so you have to be really careful to make things line up and be consistent. It's a ton of fun, but it is a bit of work. And so I think give us a year or two and then maybe we'll talk again.
Okay. Yeah, that must really tax your memory, trying to remember what happened when and is this happening at the same time and,
It is, but you also don't want to give anything away, right, for the other book. So you can start with either one and read just one, or you can read both, but it won't give anything away. So
that's good. That's great.
It's fun.
Yeah. So what do you think is a major difference between like writing on your own and collaborating on a piece? Like what were the challenges of collaboration?
Well, I think the challenges are you can't be a complete and total control freak, which I maybe am sometimes.
No.
I try not to be, but I do sometimes. I can get opinionated, and so you have to negotiate and you have to compromise, and that can be challenging. You have to work around each other's schedules, including the moments when life gets in the way and you're not able to keep the schedule you've set for yourself. But it's such a great way to keep momentum because you write a chapter, or at least in our sort of collaboration style, you write a chapter and then you send it off, and then a few days later you get the next chapter back and you get to read it, and it's so inspiring. You don't ever really get writer's block because you have something has happened and you didn't have to write it, and now you get to sort of like respond to it and say, and then what happens? And that's really good for, I think, creativity.
Oh yeah, that's fun too. So you don't know what's going to happen, right? It just comes to you from your collaborator, and you continue.
I mean, we do a general outline so that we have kind of a general sense of the arc, and we'll kind of say what are the key things that need to happen in the next chapter. But how that happens and how it plays out and how the conversations go and all that is a little bit of a surprise when you get it, which is super fun.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. And I can understand the control freak because that's like your work, right? So you want to have control of it. It's, I would think it's even kind of more unsettling than sending something to your editor who, kind of maybe removes stuff and changes things. And, I can understand that.
Yeah. With a collaborator, you really have equal say, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to an editor who, can be stern when necessary, but is fundamentally there to support your storytelling.
Yeah, that's true. It's also different than having someone just kind of give you input. Like if you give it to like a beta reader, and give you input because, like if you're collaborating, right, their opinion weighs just as much as you, or has just as much weight as yours does, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it helps. We tend to do it so that we each sort of take responsibility for one character's point of view.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we get to kind of embody that character, be that character's voice. And so I think we defer to one another, as the resident expert on each of our characters. But I think there've been a few moments, and excuse me, Jamie and I have different, I think, tendencies. Jamie is all about the angst, and they can really channel making the character suffer.
Okay.
I'm all about the fun and fluffy banter. But I think that means we're actually really good for each other. I sort of lighten Jamie, and they point out that suffering and conflict makes a compelling story, and it comes out, I think, pretty balanced in the end.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And that's good to kind of balance each other out. That always makes for a good read. So I wanted to also talk to you about. I believe you have a new title coming out through Bold Strokes, called Fixed Up.
I do. I just had a novella sort of sprinkled into the mix, but Fixed Up is going to come out in April, and it is the third and final, for now, book in the Renovation Romance series, which I'm super excited about. It's a construction company set in Vermont, and it's 3 siblings. And so the first 2 stories, Sweat Equity and Good Bones, came out last year. And this third and final story, Fixed Up, features the trans brother, the middle sibling, and his sort of journey to find love. Again, no spoilers, but he's a grumpy who's going to find his sunshine.
Aw, that's so sweet. I remember him from the other stories. He was a grumpy, and very much alone, right?
Very much alone, but not for long.
Great, great. I heard through the grapevine that it was really good. So I was glad to hear that, and I was just wondering, did you have fun writing it?
I did. I did. It's fun to have a character that you've been able to develop a little bit over previous books.
Yeah.
That's always really fun. I set this not in somebody's. The main character isn't one of the homeowners. They're restoring a historic mansion, and so that was fun. The sunshine character that I wrote for him was really quite a journey. I made the decision to give her name is Ellie, give her a parent with mental illness, which is an experience that is near and dear to my own heart. And so it turned into a little bit more of an emotional journey personally than I initially anticipated. But I'm really happy with how it came out. It feels really authentic. And I think it plays on the trope a little bit, because I think as much as she's a sunshine character, when push comes to shove, she's actually a little bit guarded with her heart, and has some lessons to learn herself. And so I hope it resonates with readers in the way that it did with me.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I love all those characters that you created in that series, and I'm glad to see that there's a final one coming out. So that's great. So that's coming out in April, you say?
Yeah, it comes out in April. I just got the page proofs in my inbox, so I will be doing a final pass this week and sending it off, and then I'll get to hold it in my hot little hands, and it'll be very exciting.
Awesome. So what's this novella? That's coming out too?
Yeah, the novella actually, it's sort of like, I love doing novellas. They're such a fun, fast-paced, like, palate cleanser in between writing novels, because they're so much shorter. I signed up to do it, and sort of, I don't want to say I lost track of it. That's not, it's a story and it's close to my heart and I love it. But it was fun, and it, goes really quick. But it's part of the All for Her collection that came out from Bold Strokes in January. It actually came out this month. Okay. And it features forbidden relationships, which is not something I generally write, because I tend to write low angst stories.
Yeah.
And so this was a fun way to sort of play around with a trope that might not be something I would do otherwise.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there was a list of sort of options, like premises that sort of were put out to consider. And I picked her brother's girlfriend.
Wow.
And so writing a character who's in love with her brother's girlfriend was interesting. But it actually, I won't say it was low angst, because there's a little bit of angst obviously baked into that. But I think it still was fairly lighthearted and fun. I said it in a restaurant. I love kind of foodie restaurant stories. Surprise to no one. And, shocker, it all works out okay.
Oh, that's great. And that's in a collection called All for Her?
All for Her, yeah. It's 3 novellas, and I did it in collaboration with J.J. Hale and Gumbrook.
Okay. Great.
Gumbrook. I always say her last name wrong. But great authors, and really great stories. So yeah. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Well, I'll be on the lookout for that one. All for Her, folks. And that is out already, or comes out?
That is out. It came out just a week or two. I've been sick, and I've lost all track of days, times. Sometime it came out like second week of January.
Okay. Yeah. And January, I cannot believe we are like moving into February. I just cannot believe it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking Valentines Day. How wild.
I know, right? That's interesting. So, I don't know what's happening here in my world. But I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yes.
So, Aurora, you have written like so many different series. like you have your Provincetown series, right? The Fixer Upper series, your the like upstate New York cider series. I know there's more than that, but what, like, which of those is your favorite, if you have a favorite, and what makes it your favorite?
Um, I don't think you're supposed to have favorites, but everyone always asks what your favorite is,
I
right?
know, I know. How can you not?
I mean, the renovation series, it's the newest. It feels the most exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely in a DIY junkie phase in my life, so that sort of really speaks to me. But I got to go way back. The Provincetown, the Cape End romances. Provincetown is such a special place, and writing them was just kind of a chance to be there, even when I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
And Winter's Harbor was my very first book ever, so that
Wow.
probably will be the one that stays dear.
I did not realize that. Huh. That's great. I have to say, I would say that is my favorite also, the Cape End series.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's just, you did such a great job describing, P Town and just the characters. It really does place you there when you can't be there, and just, it's just heartwarming, and I don't know, it's just P Town.
It's
So
B-Town, right? That
yeah.
what else? What else do you have to say?
Yeah, yeah, it's great. That's great. But I do love all your other series. I love your upstate New York series, like with the cider houses, and
Thank
um,
you. Thank you.
yeah, those are
That was fun.
awesome.
I that one I think has. I thought a hobby farmer was going to like be so popular because I'm kind of a wannabe hobby farmer. There are baby goats. There are secret baby goats in the first one in greener pastures.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it didn't get sort of the traction that some of my other books have, and it still makes me a little sad because baby goats.
Yeah.
But I have to sort of accept that not everybody wants to secretly be a farmer.
I am surprised at that. Really. Like, I guess I don't know. I see all over my news feed, like, or my social media feed, like all kinds of baby goat like videos and pictures, and I just thought
Me
everybody.
too, although maybe the algorithm just knows me that well. Maybe
Yeah.
not everybody's feed is full of baby goats.
I don't understand that, but okay. um yeah, and then what else do you have going on? Is what other series?
Uh, those are the only series. I do sometimes, I have a few books that are all standalone, but they're sort of in the same town or the same world.
Okay.
I created a small town in Louisiana that's progressive enough to embrace queer people and trans people. That town did not exist in my youth growing up in Louisiana. I have a couple books set there, which is fun. I'll probably go back there because I need to believe that that's possible
Yeah.
during the times in which we find ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's fun. I like creating worlds that you can kind of visit and go back to and kind of check in on characters. And even if it's just a brief little mention, people who've read other books will see it and recognize it and hopefully smile.
Mm-hmm.
But if you didn't, like, it's not enough to like make it so that you don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my favorite series, I think.
Really? That's
The,
awesome.
the favorite way of doing a series, right? So
Oh,
they
okay.
read the books on their own, but
Mm-hmm.
they all fit together if you want them to.
And I think you do a really good job of that. Of you can just pick up on and read it, and you don't have to read the whole, series, but it's there if you want to.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
is Crescent City Confidential a part of a series, or is that a standalone?
It is not. It is a standalone, and strangely, the only book I've set in its entirety in New Orleans.
Okay.
Although I did set a novella in New Orleans, and they go to the restaurant where Tess is an oyster shucker. So again, little Easter eggs for people who might want them.
Yes, yes, I remember that at the bar. She's sitting there watching the guy shuck oysters. Is that the one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's, well, in Crescent City, one of
Yeah.
the characters does shuck oysters for her job,
Oh, okay.
which is fun because that's a real restaurant. I have spent lots of time sitting at that oyster bar watching people shuck oysters. Although I've never had the pleasure of a female oyster shucker. It's always been men. So that's where I took my artistic license.
There you go. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, that was a good book too. So listeners, check that one out.
Oh, you're very kind.
No, it's true. They're all great. Like, I love your writing. I don't think that there is one book of yours that I was like, oh God, I can't get through this. Like, seriously, like I just kind of roll through your books. They are fantastic. They're feel good. Low angst. And just great characters, great storylines. You do a fantastic job. And of course, the romance, there's always the romance.
Always the romance.
Yes, yes. So what do you think is the key to writing a successful romance novel?
I think my answer has probably changed over the years.
Yeah?
I think probably I used to think it had a lot to do with, good banter and good chemistry and, maybe there's somebody I've read that talks about kind of healing wounds. Like, when you fall in love, it sort of is about, the other person kind of completes you in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's all still super, super true. But the more time I spend writing romance, the more time I spend with my therapist as I stroll through middle age.
Mm-hmm.
I think so much about like vulnerability and safety.
Yeah.
And that romance, not the way we sort of think about, things that are romantic, but the way we talk about falling in love and finding the person or the people who sort of give us that sense of self. It's, it's about finding someone that you can truly be your most authentic self around.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that there's space to do that, even the messy bits. Mm-hmm. I still consider myself a work in progress on that front, but
we all are,
right?
Yep.
But I love the idea of it, and I love the potential of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think any relationship, you have to feel safe, and what makes a great relationship and last is just what you said, being able to be vulnerable, because if you have your walls up, the other person doesn't know you, and you don't get anything in return then,
For sure.
Everything's deflected. So there isn't that give and take. So yeah, definitely. And you do write that into your, your novels, like the characters definitely, allow themselves to be vulnerable. Like you can tell, that you have a good therapist, I think.
I have a fantastic therapist. I love him, but, it is, sometimes they're good. They do it kicking and screaming.
Oh yeah.
Like I do myself.
Sure.
But that's the beauty of it, right? That's the journey.
That's the real life part of it,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's wonderful. So you bring that knowledge, I think, right? And that it's a feeling too to what you write, and I think I think that's the difference for you and some other writers, is that theirs is a little more heady, right? And you bring this, I think, this feeling, like I can connect with those characters, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do a great
It
job.
is funny. I bring the wisdom of my 46 year old. I have to do that. My 46-year-old self. I don't, when I write characters who are even in their mid 30s, I don't tend to write much younger than that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there are moments where I'm like, wow, I wish I had this wisdom 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah,
So, I might be giving them a little bit of a head start, but
that's good. That's good. And maybe
they do the work,
younger readers will heed that, right? And
right?
yeah, yeah, for real. That's important. I wish I knew then what I know now, for sure.
For sure.
So, are there any other elements that you think make for a great romance novel?
Well, I mean, I am fond of the spice. I love a good sex scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does important emotional work for the story. But it's also just a lot of fun, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
something that's sexy and distracting, we love that in the books we read. Well, not everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
in the books I read, I enjoy that. And I think most of the people who read my books are in it for that as well. And I don't want to downplay the importance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other less cheeky response is like a good cast of secondary characters. I think it's really important to create characters that aren't just there to prop up your main characters. They're a little bit more fleshed out. They maybe have their own stuff going on in their lives. And I can always tell when I'm writing a story and it's feeling a little short and it's feeling a little flat, that usually what I've neglected are secondary characters that kind of have their own lives, that instead of distracting from the story, actually kind of either parallel the story or act as a foil to the story. And that's where I have to go back and do the work in revision and in editing. So I think it's something we don't always think about or talk about, but it is really an essential component, because lives and falling in love and being in relationships doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Oh no, yeah, you're so right. And it's more than just being like supporting characters, right? It's
And as I say that really wisely, I'm like scribbling notes for my work in progress. I'm like, wow, I really haven't fleshed out that best friend yet. I got to figure out how to do that. Note to self.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Hey, glad we could work this through for
Right.
you. Yeah, yeah.
We're just workshopping. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned like the spice being like the sex, and that element adds to a character's vulnerability, because you have to make yourself vulnerable, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so yeah, I think that's all I think rolled in together. So that's great. That's awesome. So Aurora, do you have any plans for Valentine's Day? I had to ask.
I know. And I want to come up with something really, really good.
Uh-huh.
The honest,
Yeah.
true answer is I haven't even thought about it.
Ah.
I don't have any plans. And they will likely include like a nice dinner with my partner. And that's probably it.
Uh-huh. That is nice.
It's my dirty secret as a romance writer is that I'm almost painfully practical in real life.
So, does that mean there's not a lot of spontaneity, or
There's not enough.
okay.
as we turn this into a therapy session. I do think I need more spontaneity in my life, probably. But I also, I will say, even as someone who loves adventures and romance and the idea of it all and the excitement and the sweetness or the sexiness or any of it, Valentine's Day proper is a pretty, retail focused endeavor these days.
Oh, yeah. There you go. It's capitalism at its best.
Even if I'm going to say like, I want to do something kind of fun and wild and like, let's be adventurous or let's be romantic. The existence of Valentine's Day probably will have not that much to do with it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I hope nobody holds that against me.
I'm sure they will not, because it is. It's like I think any day can be Valentine's Day, and if you're spontaneous, you can make that happen, right? I don't think there's like this ideal way to spend Valentine's Day. I think it's whatever you choose to do, whether you're alone or whether you're with someone. It's important just that you do what you want to do, not what you think you should do, right?
Yeah, totally. Celebrate with friends, go off on your own. I think it's funny the way you were sort of talking about that. I'm like, yeah, but I do love me a box of chocolates, which is true.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
The grocery store I frequent, you'll walk in the week of Valentine's Day and in the whole, front of the store is just awash in balloons and bouquets. Yeah. I've made the mistake of going on Valentine's Day proper. And I don't want to stereotype, but man, the number of men like walking around like deer in headlights, clutching things, like to try to score points, like, and it looks so out of place. And like my store sells, they literally put like 2 ribeye steaks in a like heart foil container to buy.
No.
Come on. I mean, I love a ribeye too, don't get me wrong.
Oh, but yeah, it's my favorite.
It's just, I mean, it's comical at this point.
That is.
So,
and like when you see stuff like that, it's like, well, is that person like, obviously they're not a romantic at heart, or this would just be a walk in the park for them, right? They know what to do. They wouldn't be walking around like questioning their every turn and move, so yeah, it does put a lot of pressure on people too. And I think like couples like can put pressure on each other.
yeah.
So yeah, that's not good.
Right. So let's lean into just celebrating each other and doing something nice and special just because you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Any day, not just Valentine's.
Any day.
Yeah.
I like that.
Any day is a good day to celebrate romance.
Hear, hear. I will drink to that.
All right. So, I want to mention, are you familiar with this platform called FeedSpot?
No.
So FeedSpot is like they promote LGBTQ plus news and podcasts, publishers. They do a lot. For our listeners, I think, it's a great resource, but I also want to say they rank podcasts, and Lez Talk About Books is right now number 35 across the world. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I have a note. I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They do a good job. And yeah,
we definitely need nice feeds and sources of uplifting, queer positive stuff right now.
Definitely.
So, that area.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep, we sure do. We definitely do. There's scary times ahead, I'm afraid.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. I was just looking at how I can get more involved locally, and do what I need to do.
I think that's great. I think that's what we have to do. That's where we can actually make a difference,
Yeah.
uh, as opposed to just a rage or doom spiral.
Yeah, I can't do that anymore. Like I did the thing of just kind of shutting everything out. I went through that for a while, and
Hmm.
now I'm in a spot where, all right, I can't. It's very difficult to keep all that out because everywhere I look here, it's like there. So,
Hmm.
but now it's time to act. So, at a local level, I can hopefully have an impact. Start grassroots and move on up. So.
I think that's fantastic. As is this podcast. It is such a celebration of queer joy and queer art. I love that you do this. How long have you been doing this podcast? It's been
Oh, so
several years, right?
oh yeah, since 2018.
Wow.
Yeah. Carson Tate was my very first guest.
I love that.
I know. I know.
And you come out have you passed the 100 mark yet?
Oh yeah, I'm close to 300.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you familiar with TJ Klune?
I know the name.
Yeah, so he if you go into like Barnes and Noble, they have like a whole section dedicated to him, and he wrote one of his more famous books is The House on the Cerulean Sea, and it's just a really feel good love story about what makes a family and what makes love, and you know not being judgmental and cruel,
Hmm.
and so they even have like stuffed animals that go with his you know book, and
Wow.
and there's a sequel to that, but he's written so many books. But anyway, he was on, like, it's just so cool, like I got to talk to him and really kind of understand his world, and he's coming back on next month, I think, which is so cool. So it really I think we try to really have something for everyone.
Yeah. I
So
think that's great. And every episode I've ever listened to has been, I think thought provoking from a creative standpoint, but also just uplifting. And I think we always need more of that.
oh, well, thanks. I'm glad to hear that, because that's what I want to be about. So yeah. Thank you for saying that. You made my day.
Oh, well, it is the truth. And I think sometimes it's a little bit thankless to be a podcaster. You put it out and you get your views and your downloads and your clicks and all that good stuff. But,
Yeah.
we should be telling you that we like how appreciative we are
Ah.
for the work that goes into it.
Ah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I think I reap a lot of benefits too, because I get to talk to a lot of great authors like yourself who, you're just good people too, besides being a great author. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love our conversations. We always veer off from just talking about books, and that's kind of always my favorite part.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too.
You never know what we're going to get into.
I know. It's fun. So Aurora, we are almost out of time for today. And as usual, I'm wondering if you have any parting words for our listeners, our dear listeners.
It's hard. I feel compelled to say something wise and uplifting as we talked about the scary times in which we live.
Yeah.
And, I think it's just, our theme is romance, but I think the thing we have to hold on to right now is love. In all its forms. it is what will ultimately prevail.
Yeah.
And we have to hold on to that, and we have to believe in that, and we have to spread it and multiply it and embody it.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially when things sort of feel at their bleakest.
Yep. Yep. You're right. Those are great, great words, and it's a great way to end. Great uplifting kind of mantra is, hold on to the love, because that will prevail.
Hold on to the love.
Yeah, I like that. So thank you so much, Aurora Ray, for being with us today. It has been my pleasure talking with you.
Likewise.
And that is all the time we have. I'm Anita Kelly, and thanks, listeners, for joining. Let's talk about books, baby. Until next time, may your journey be lighthearted, peace be plenty, and be safe, folks.